I got a question I've been dying to ask. So, is it hard watching the game with the red turf?
That's the Inferno
does
facts.
Does it do anything like
Yeah.
optically, like watching the game?
When they're wearing their red jersey with black numbers, I couldn't really tell you like most of the guys.
Today, we've got a special edition of Fax the King where we welcome on Greg Peach, former Eastern Washington University standout and teammate of Dr. Fax in the CFL. The guys reconnect, talk about their playing days, and a little bit of current ball. Enjoy.
Yo, we're back with a special edition of Fax the King. This week, we will be doing our first interview, and I have one of my favorite CFL teammates of all time with us today, Greg Peach. He's here. My guy was the 2008 Buck Buchanan Award winner out at Eastern Washington University, way out west. Greg, we're happy to have you on the show.
Super pumped to be here. I appreciate you reaching out to do this. I've been following you guys since you started it up, so it's cool. It's a privilege to be here. So thanks, man.
Appreciate it. I know it's early. Greg's on the West Coast. It's very early for him. So I appreciate him getting up. I know it can be hard, but I was telling these guys when we first met, when I got out to Winnipeg, Manitoba, after I tore my ACL with the Bears, I had took a year off, and the next year I ended up in the CFL and ended up on the Blue Bombers. And I was telling these guys, you weren't too fond of me when I first got into the locker room. Tell us about that.
I was pretty serious. I think I was in my 7th year when you came in, and I was just one of those guys that pretty wound tight because I was trying to make it every year. So I wasn't really one for joking around or, especially in like meetings or practice. But I would say that you were one of those guys that loosened me up a little bit and helped me enjoy the game a little more. And I think that was one of the most fun years I had as a professional for sure. You, Westerman, DT, Jake. So it was but at first we weren't really syncing up too well, maybe clashing a bit. But then by the end of it, we went to Mexico after that year together. I mean, yeah, it was crazy.
You guys are international
Crazy,
from Canada
right?
all the way down to Mexico, man.
So after Eastern Washington University, moving on, the next step, did you have any NFL looks? Did you go to any camps? Did you get any like courtesy visits?
Yeah, no, I signed with the Broncos right after, but then was quickly released before training camp. But the nice thing is I had a contract offer from Edmonton Eskimos in the CFL like in March before the draft even happened. So that was super, super cool to have that.
Oh,
and
nice.
Honestly, I thought, I'll go up to Canada for a year or two and then come back to the NFL, and it was not like that at all. I got up there and I was like, oh man, I gotta freaking compete to stay on this roster. And all I really knew about it was, and my agent was like, oh yeah, Cam Wake just went up there, dominated, and now he's back for $1 million. But yeah, I was no Cam Wake.
Well, you strike me as a pretty humble guy, Peach, but I'm reading your stat line here. In your 2nd year with the Blue Bombers, you had 46 tackles, 7 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. So you might not be Cam Wake, but you played pretty fucking good, man. So I know you're a humble guy, but we like to gas each other up on this pod since we're all washed and retired. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. I had a decent career. It was funny. I think I was one of the only American like D lineman that made it 7 years without being an all-star. It's kind of hard to stay up there, but I was your, first in, last out guy, team captain. So made a career out of it.
That's what you got to do, man. And now you said, so you told us a little bit before we got recording that you're doing a bunch of different things now. I know you're doing some broadcast stuff as well. We were joking because Fax and I really want to try to call a game, and we're trying to figure out what we need to do. You know, what wheels we got to grease to get Fax and I up in the booth calling a game.
I could see you guys being like the Peyton Manning, Eli Manning thing, where you got like a broadcast on the side while they got the main one going. Yeah.
Problem is,
maybe,
we would just end up smoking too many blunts.
Yeah, so
conversation to the fourth quarter might not be the same. I don't know.
So how hard was that transition getting into the commentating and just like from the player's perspective to being in the booth and kind of calling things on the fly?
Yeah, that felt like game day, honestly, doing it. And the guy I was with, he's been out here in this area. He's done like Gonzaga basketball, Eastern, Idaho. So he knows, all the local sports out here, and he's been doing it for like 30, 40 years. So to do it with him made it way easier because he was giving me tips on timeouts and stuff. And I do this a little more or talk a little less about this. And so he eased the nerves a little bit. But I think after that first quarter, I was just rolling, talking football. They told me, because I'm a huge Eastern fan. I went there. I'm a season ticket holder. And he's like, you can't be a homer, dude. Like, there's people across the nation watching. I mean, it was ESPN Plus. It's not like it was, on, main network or anything. But so I was trying to, like, they're scoring touchdowns. I'm in the booth. I'm just like tapping his shoulder, like,
yeah, let's fucking go.
And then it's like, oh, that's a nice catch by Trey there. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I'm hoping that they call me to do it again and make it like a consistent thing because I really enjoyed it and I'd like to keep doing it.
For me, I played nose guard, interior defensive lineman. Obviously, you can relate to that. So, like, whenever I'm watching ball, like, even when I'm watching, NFL ball, college ball, I'm always watching the interior offensive and defensive line, where I feel like everyone's always commenting on where the ball is or, like, different routes or different coverages and stuff like that. It is so hard for me to break that habit that I've developed over, fucking 15 years of playing football, of watching interior O-line, D-line play. And I feel like that's what I would struggle with, like, I'm watching, like, the center and the nose guard battle it out. And then there's a fucking jet sweep around the corner I'm not even looking at. It's interesting. Do you have any problems with that, or you just got to expand your view a little bit?
Dude, I think they need more guys like you commentating. And that's what they told me. He's like, you're not going to follow the ball. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not.
Right.
He's like, I can do that. You just tell me, what you're seeing. So I'm lining up and teeing up matchups with the DN tackle. I'm like, oh, we got something brewing here because you can see the extracurricular after. Something's about to happen, so you're ISOing these guys. I'm the same way, but the other stuff, I did my best. Like, oh, it's a perimeter run. I don't really know what they're doing. I'm just watching that, front seven. And
I got a question I've been dying to ask. So, is it hard watching the game with the red turf?
That's the inferno
facts. Does it do anything like optically, like watching the game?
When they're wearing their red jersey with black numbers, I couldn't really tell you, like, most of the guys. That was the hardest part. Like, just trying to figure out, who was making the plays. I mean, I've memorized who the D linemen are, but after that, I'm, trying to figure out who made the catch. And but as a player, I'm sure it would be tough as the opposing player too. And I think that's a huge advantage for us and why I think we've only lost 3 or 4 times there in 12 years. We don't really lose there.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think the red turf is some type of strategy?
We won the national championship the first year we came in, went undefeated. We'd never done it in our history of our school. And yeah, that was like the spark of everything for us. Got recruits. We don't have any money at Eastern. So like, like they just did a locker room revamp, which was like painting and putting some new stuff on the couches. Like the things that we do to get recruits and to win games, like we're taking a freaking rag and squeezing, like, let's get every last drop of water out of it. And
so with the NIL being big now, like what has that done for like a small school like Eastern Washington with everything that's going on? Is that something that's you see it helping, or is it something that like it probably needs you guys need more people out there doing more stuff?
What it does is makes these coaches have to recruit for 5 years. Like once a guy gets on campus, you can't just say, "Oh, we got him." You have to make him feel good, make him feel like, "Hey, you're part of this. I know you're a backup right now. We got a plan for you," because there's no money to give over here for those kids. This isn't Florida or Alabama. Like we don't have the Virginia. I don't know what kind of money you guys got, but yeah. So this is like that's what's changed is you kind of expect a guy after his junior year, if he's all American, he's balling out, he's probably going to take some money and go to a bigger school, which is great for that dude, and I would have done the same thing as a junior, but now it puts a little bit on those coaches to make sure they're recruiting a couple years back for that next wave of guys.
And it makes developing all your young players and the talent that you do get at a smaller school like that very important. Speaking of, Peach, you did mention that you have a training academy. I want to give you the opportunity to talk about that a little bit because it seems like something you're pretty passionate about. You said you're very businesslike in the CFL, and obviously I think you took it very seriously and fucking worked your ass off. So fun to see you apply that at a different level. What do you got going on with that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have a training academy out here called Provision Academy, and we have the Provision Foundation. So I work on both of those. But the academy, we're working with young kids, like all the way down to first grade, doing camps with them, and then when we get older into the high school kids, we're really trying to prepare them for the next level and get them looks at different colleges around the area. And but yeah, in the foundation piece, we started to help raise money to get kids that couldn't afford doing club sports or training. So we've kind of made it a motto, like we'll never turn a kid away. So we never have for 7 years. And I just think about the opportunities that I had because my parents, invested so much of their time and money. And it's not like they had a ton. It was just, hey, we're going to make sure you got the most opportunities to get to where you want to get to. And not every kid has that. So our staff is making sure that happens here. And it's been awesome. I was telling Nate, we just got into a new building, an 80,000 square foot building.
Let's go.
That is going to have indoor turf and film room and recovery room and courts. Like it's going to be a center for kids to just come and hang out for 4 or 5 hours and be productive and just maximize their opportunity.
When it gets done, I'll have to come out there and check it out because I'm big into the outdoors and fishing now. Yeah, and I heard you got some good fishing out there, so I'll make a trip out of it for sure.
It's the place, man. I'm out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, so there's plenty of fishing out here.
All right, so Peach, we do a segment on our show every week where we pick a BMOC, and that's a big man on campus. And what we want to do is just basically pick a player in the college game that we want to highlight for this week. And since you're our first guest, we definitely want to include you on this and wanted to see if you had a BMOC for this week.
Hey, I do. Now, I know this is, my first week, but I've been watching college football for the last, Eastern Washington football for the last 4 weeks. And I went down to Fresno State and watched them lose by 3 in double overtime. But I've been watching these boys, and I got to give a shout out. It was actually the two guys, 2 receivers from Eastern, Nolan Olm and Efton Chisholm. Spectacular names as well.
Yeah,
and, Chisholm. That's a great name.
Definitely worth checking out. 2 guys that'll get professional shots in the NFL or CFL, and 2 great kids too.
Yeah, and then I want to ask you too. Obviously, very familiar with the Washington, and we were going to talk a lot about Penix, who's a fucking.
Oh, don't take my BMOC, bro.
So let me toss this back over to Fax.
So my BMOC this week is actually a local guy for you, and Michael Penix Jr. And the hype is probably way bigger out there for him than it is like across the country with like them playing late games and you guys being on the West Coast. But how serious is the hype for him, and how good is he?
Hey, it's big over here. I'm kind of in Washington State country, so Wazoo
Okay.
UW is a huge rivalry, and they're 4-0 right now too. So
They beat
um,
Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. That's where I went to school, man. Fuck. They're playing
oh
good.
no, oh man, yeah, okay, yeah. I was trying to get to that game, but I went to the Fresno game instead. But I'll be at the uh, I'll be at the Colorado game and the Apple Cup between UW and Wazoo. But yeah, no, Penix. I've got to watch him a little bit. The I do think that it's a little overhyped just because they haven't played anybody yet, and they got the
Mm.
gauntlet their last 4 weeks, and they still got Oregon in a couple weeks too. So that's when you really find out. It's kind of just like Colorado. I mean, um, I love Colorado. I love everything Coach Prime is doing, but
Don't even get Nate started on Colorado, man. We'll be here for fucking 45 more minutes.
hey,
Bo's a
but
hater. Bo's a hater.
but you do see, like, I mean, Prime said they're 7 or 8 pieces away from being contenders, and they definitely are.
Yeah, they're all
So
alignment.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah. So
But
we'll
the
see.
big guys are coming.
And honestly, yeah, Penix. I mean, he's been playing with the lead. He's got a great defense. He's got weapons. So I still think he's a great player. He can spin it, but the test is
Yeah.
going to be the last half of the season.
Well, hey man, we fucking really appreciate you coming on. It's really good it's fun to meet former teammates, guys. Obviously we never played together, but it's so easy to relate to you, and it's awesome hearing about you from Nate and hearing your story and stuff like that. It sounds like you're doing some amazing things with the commentating and the training facility and stuff like that. So always a friend of Fax and the King, man.
Peach.
Whenever you want to pop
Peach.
on, you just let us know.
Hey man, you guys let me
Peach was
know.
on.
Yeah, I appreciate both you guys, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, Nate, it's great to see you, man.